Hey guys, Amartya here from FTJ and with me is
Ananthan.
and welcome to another brand new episode. We have lots of tech news for you guys, including Paytm being yanked off the Play Store and being reinstated again. There's news from AMD and Nvidia about their new cards, and of course, more console news. So, before we get started, do hit that bell icon, get subscribed to the channel, hit the like button, you know what to do. So, without any further ado, let's get into the news.
First up, we have an update on the recent Apple event. We actually covered it, so here is a card. And if you guys haven't seen it, so basically Apple launched a couple of iPads and the Apple Watch Series 6 and the Apple Watch SE. So the Apple Watch SE is basically a Series 4, Series 5.
Yeah, it's like a mashup of the older Apple Watches. It's more directed as
Yeah.
for people who are just looking to get not the latest in Apple Watch, but still have an Apple Watch. Like it fits well into the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah,
right?
if you are like an iPhone SE user and you don't want to spend more money than your phone on a smartwatch, you can go with the Apple Watch SE, right?
So iPhone SE, Apple Watch SE. What's next? MacBook SE.
I would like a MacBook SE to be honest.
To be honest, yeah, that would. I mean, maybe the MacBook ARM processors. Are
Yeah,
going to be
like the
MacBook
Apple
SEs.
Silicon, right?
Yeah, Apple Silicon.
Yeah, with Apple manufacturing their own chips, maybe that's a possibility, but I don't think they'll go the SE route with the MacBook because it's a pro device, right? As in professionals use it.
I mean, a MacBook Air is very, very lightweight. So
Yeah.
maybe they could go somewhere like a MacBook Air with LTE or 5G in it.
Yeah, that is actually it.
Anyway, that's all speculation, guys. As for the second update of the week, we have the more news about the LG Wing. Yes, it was launched finally this week. We actually have a video on it on our main channel, C4E Tech. Card to it here. And basically, guys, it looks interesting. I mean, there's not a lot to cover about it, so we don't know if we would get our hands on it. If we do, we'll obviously let you guys know. So subscribe to C4E Tech if you haven't yet. I mean, that would be quite surprising if someone is watching us on FTJ and hasn't subscribed to
Yeah.
C4E Tech. But anyway, so coming back to what you guys are actually here for, the news. So the first big story of this week is that following in the footsteps of Microsoft, Sony has actually released the prices for the Sony PS5. So there are going to be two editions of this, the digital version of the PS5 and the disc version of the PS5. So what are the prices, Ananthan?
So the digital version comes at around $399 and the regular version is like the $499, the one with the optical drive. So unless like the Xbox, like the difference is like frame rates and like processing power.
Yeah.
In here, the difference between the PS5 and the digital edition is just the optical drive.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you own a lot of like games like
Physical media, yeah. But then for me, the thing is, I think Microsoft did a really smart move with the Series X because at $299, it's going to be the cheapest console of this generation, right?
Yeah.
So seems interesting.
And the thing is, generally console gamers, they don't care about frames that much.
That much, yeah.
They play it on their TV and most TVs don't support more than 60, right?
Yeah.
So I think like the $299 Xbox Series S would be a better buy for most of the like.
I mean, it
console.
depends. It depends. Sony has a lot of PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah.
Like personally, if I am going for a console, I would rather go for the PlayStation because hey, most of Xbox games I can play on the PC, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, seems to be interesting. Let's see what happens and let's see what the Indian pricing is because guys, we still don't know Indian pricing and it's gonna be on a bit on the expensive side. But let's see what happens. Moving on to the next news. Ananthan, what do you think about the OnePlus 80 leaks?
Yeah, the OnePlus 80 leaks are finally here and it's expected to launch on October 14th.
Yeah.
And there is no Pro variant leaks as of now. And
Which seems kind of odd, right?
yeah, it generally the Pros leak first, right?
Yeah.
And as of the specs of the 80, we have a 6.55-inch 120 Hz AMOLED panel.
That's
as
very
for
nice.
the 8, it was 90 Hz, right?
Yes.
And 32 megapixel selfie camera instead of the
16 megapixel
on the Nord. And the back is kind of the same 5 megapixel macro, 2 megapixel depth, and 4500 milliampere battery. So the battery is a little bit bigger, as in it was 4300 mAh on the 8 and 4500 on the 8T.
Yeah.
And we also have support for 65 watt
Fast
charger, which is Judging by the track record of OnePlus, they'll provide it on the box.
Yeah, but that's like the big deal, right? Like when OnePlus came out with the Warp Charge, it was like amazing for its time. But then other companies like Realme and Oppo, they have come out with faster chargers, and OnePlus for a long while, even with the 7, the 8, they have retained the 30-watt charger. But now they are finally moving to 65-watt. Let's see, should be interesting again.
On to the next news.
We have some more leaks about the Galaxy Z Flip 2. So, guys, if you don't remember, we actually covered the first Z Flip. Again, cut to it here. But what do we know about the Z Flip 2? Obviously, it's going to maintain the same clamshell design. I love that design. Like, guys, just going off on a tangent here, but my first phone was a clamshell. It was a Moto Razr.
Nice.
Loved just flipping it down. It was such an amazing power move. And so I know, like the latest foldables, you can't really do that because the screen is too fragile, but still.
And also, like the hinge is more stiff, right? With the Razer, you can just flip it open like this.
Yep.
And with the Z Flip, like the limited time we used it, we actually gave it away.
Yes.
And it was like a.
It was a bit stiffer. You can't do it. Like, I mean, you could, but it feels wrong doing it.
Yeah. And with the Z Flip leaks, like the outer display, if you don't remember, the Z Flip had a very teeny tiny
outer display,
which you can use to take selfies, but not really kind of a thing.
It was just used for mostly seeing the time, seeing notifications, stuff like that.
Yeah. And bigger outer display, of course, and so it will probably look like the Moto Razr.
Exactly.
And with better specs, right?
Yes.
And the hinge is upgraded as Samsung claims in every foldable event, right?
Yeah, but I think this is the same hinge as the Fold 2. Yeah.
The Fold 2 hinge and the Z Flip hinge were like pretty similar, right?
Pretty kind of similar, but then they introduced the bristles and made it a bit stiffer and all that.
Yeah.
They're also saying they're gonna have a new layer of ultra thin glass. So, guys, if you don't know, a lot of us thought that the Z Flip had actually a plastic layer, but it wasn't plastic. It was very, very thin glass. So apparently, this is like a new layer of UTG. We don't really know at this point if it's better than what they used on the Fold.
Okay, it's basically like it had a glass screen, but the thing is, to be extra safe, Samsung added a coat of like a screen protector on the Z Flip and also on the Galaxy Z
Fold 2,
right?
Yes.
So they're doing the same here, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you are not supposed to remove the plastic screen. Only
Samsung certified professionals are allowed to remove it. But anyway, moving on, they have also upgraded the battery capacity. That's now 3300 milliamp hours. And these are, guys, the leaks we are like kind of sure about.
Yeah.
There are other leaks which relate to basically the specs being upgraded. We are probably getting an 865 processor, 12
higher refresh rate maybe.
Yeah, maybe a higher refresh rate, like 120 hertz.
That thing, and we don't know how the design would exactly look, and we are assuming it's gonna look pretty similar to the Z Flip with a bigger screen that covers the top half.
Yes. So that's all that we know about this for the moment. Moving on to more Samsung news, but this time not from the Samsung mobile division, but from Samsung's silicone division. So this is news about the Exynos 1000. And apparently it could actually be better than the next generation of Qualcomm chips. So it's better than the Qualcomm Snapdragon 875.
So basically both the Snapdragon 875 and the Exynos 1000 are supposed to come with 1+3+4 configuration. So 1 prime core, 3 performance core and 4 efficient cores.
Yeah.
ARM also unveiled their new flagship CPU core designs earlier this year. They are called the Cortex
A78. Yeah.
So if you don't know, the Snapdragon series is based on ARM architecture, right?
Yeah. So both the Exynos and
both of them are.
They're both based on ARM architecture, and along with the A78, that's going to be the 3 performance cores, and along with that, the prime core that we are talking about, that's going to be based on the ARM X1.
Yeah.
So basically, guys, what we are seeing here is the X1 is going to be the flagship. It's going to be way more powerful. It's going to be, at least what they say, around 21% faster than even the A78. And as far as the A78 goes, it's going to be 20% faster than the A77. So that's the last year cores that we see in the A865.
And it's also supposed to be like 50% less power consumption.
That's amazing. So great for battery life because
when it comes to mobile processors, that's like the best thing you need, right?
exactly. But then at the end of it, guys, I don't know, but it will all, at least according to me, come down to the GPU because Exynos is supposedly partnering with AMD, so they are gonna have a Radeon based GPU, whereas Qualcomm, as we already know, it's gonna be an iteration on the Adreno GPU. So let's see what happens, because this time 865 versus 990, it wasn't a fair fight. As we have been complaining over and over for the Exynos, for the Note series, the S series. Here in India, we only get the Exynos variant. They're kind of underpowered. They're not, as fast and snappy as the 865s. We don't even get 5G, right? Which is sad. I mean, come on, 90 grand for a phone, and you still don't get 5G. And then there are phones at 25 grand, which has 5G.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, moving on to some good news or bad news or other news.
We don't kind really know. Neutral news. Good news for Nvidia at least.
Yeah, good news for Nvidia at least, bad news for China. Why, we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, Nvidia is planning to acquire ARM, that's ARM Technologies, for $40 billion US. So guys, if you don't know, ARM previously had been under SoftBank. SoftBank is an investment bank from Japan. They hold a lot of technology companies around the world. So SoftBank had acquired ARM previously for around $32 billion US, and now Nvidia is going to buy them for $40 billion US. So what does this deal include? So it includes, obviously, the biggest thing here is ARM's assets. So they include their IPs, all sorts of intellectual properties, including all their patents, but it also includes their cash assets, their offices, so basically everything. So this is like a total, this is not like a split merger like what happened with Lenovo acquiring Motorola from Google. This is like a complete takeover. And this is actually gonna really help Nvidia out a lot, because Nvidia, for in the GPU space, they have been making huge progress. In the AI space, they have been making huge progress, but the only space where they have lagged behind thus far is the mobile space. Because the only thing we see Nvidia processors in right now in mobile is a Switch, right? So let's see. Fingers crossed, this should mean more processors from Nvidia for the mobile space at least.
So more processors, more competition, better for the customers, right?
Hopefully, that's the plan right now.
In other news, AMD's next generation Berger processors are to be called Ryzen 5000 series. Are you excited, Amarto?
I am excited, but I'm mostly curious why they skipped on the 4000 series. I mean, okay, we get the laptop series right now. They are calling it the 4000. I guess this is an attempt to, not create more confusion, because it's third generation being called 4000, but now the fourth generation is being called 5000. What is happening?
It is kind of confusing, but still the naming scheme is kind of confirmed. And by leaks, now we know that the 12-core 5900X and the 8-core 5800X is like kind of same as the 3000 series.
So basically what we are getting is a jump up in cores, like number of cores, and we should also probably get higher core clocks.
It's like we had an old leak which suggested that the boost would be up to 4.9 gigahertz, which is good, right?
Which is amazing, like 5 gigahertz boost without nitrogen, who'd have thunk it?
And the news, to confirm this, we have to wait till October 8th, because that is the launch date for the new processors. But that's not the only AMD news that we have for you guys. We also have some news about their new graphics cards, and they have chosen a very novel way of releasing the graphics card. They have actually made a specific island for it in Fortnite, and even you guys, you can visit the island. We'll leave the island code in the description down below, and if you create a custom match and go to that island, then you can visit it, and there's not much information about it. Like it's kind of like a training lobby, right? Like, I don't play Fortnite, do you?
I don't really play Fortnite that much, but
like it's like a how do we explain to you? It's like the cheer park in PUBG, right?
Kind of like that. It's like a custom map basically.
Yeah, it's like a custom map, and you can like go there and visit, and it's like a 3D model or something.
Yeah, it's a 3D render of the entire graphics card, so you can see it from all directions. You can see the base plate of it. You can, see it's got three blower fans and massive heat pipes. It looks to be based on the big Navi architecture. From the leaks that we know thus far. It's apparently for the RX 6000 series, right?
Yeah.
And well, more news about it when we get to know about it, because these are all that's all we know about it thus far.
Yeah, what we know is from the official Twitter handle of AMD Radeon. They confirmed it via an image. So we just have an image, and you can just visit Fortnite and see a 3D render.
That's about it basically.
Yeah.
Let's see. Moving on to more graphics card news, we have news from Nvidia. Actually, not even Nvidia, it's actually Gigabyte leaking news about two new sets of 3070 series, right?
So we have the GeForce RTX 3060 with 8 gigs of memory, and RTX 3070 with 16 gigs of memory, and RTX 3080, you guessed it, 20 gigs of memory.
Of course. So, guys, this was actually leaked like in a very interesting kind of way. So, Nvidia, even AMD actually does it. Often, when you buy a new graphics card, it comes with a bundle of games. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but Watch Dogs Legion is coming out really soon, and that's how we got to know the news of these new leaks from Nvidia about these 3060, 3070, and a 3080, of course. I mean, the 3080 has already been released, the 3080, 3090, we know everything about them. But the 3060 and 3070, they are in the works, they are, about to be released.
We don't know if it's like a 3060 Super or a 3060 Ti or the 3070 Super or it's like the leaks are a little vague, right?
It's a little vague because it's from a code dump as far as we know. But hey, more new graphics cards, better for us.
Next news is something that we don't cover that often. It's related to cameras. So Sony just launched a budget A7 camera, and I won't call it a budget because it costs $1,800. So basically, it's called a budget because it's a full frame camera, and you'll get it for $1,800. Which is nice actually, and it is because it's
like a compact form factor as well, right? Like, guys, here's the thing. DSLRs, they are huge, so that's why mirrorless cameras from Sony, we use them a lot here, and the main reason for them is they're light. You can basically mount them easily. You can carry them, you can even have them on a tripod and move about. It gives you a lot of flexibility. And what the A7C has over the normal A7 Mark III is that you can actually mount this on a gimbal. Now guys, if you don't know the A7, like we have the A7 and it's pretty huge, right?
You can still mount it on a gimbal, but it is pretty hard to like use it. So for vloggers and all, this would be like getting the best quality with a very portable setup. So the A7C comes like similar to the A7 III, but it is basically comes in a smaller body. So it's basically the same 24.2 megapixel 35mm full frame. And it is back illuminated by the Exmor RCMOS sensor along with the Bionic X image processor.
So basically, guys, the image processing, everything is supposed to be the same. Anyway, it's a Sony sensor, it's Sony color science, so all your LUTs from the A7, they should work here. And it's basically a more compact mirrorless camera. I mean, yes, it's $1,800 US, it's not cheap, but for those who are in professional photography, rather shall I say professional videography, and you want a mirrorless camera, you have a lot of Sony lenses, this is brilliant for you guys.
Coming back to some exciting phone leaks, we now have confirmation that the POCO X3 is confirmed to launch in India, and it is launching next week. So the POCO X3 is actually launching, to be exact, September 22nd, and we think it's gonna be a Flipkart exclusive. And like all Xiaomi and POCO phones coming to India, the POCO X3, if you don't remember,
not gonna have NFC.
If you remember, like the POCO X3, the actual name is POCO X3 NFC. So when they're launching in India, I think they'll probably launch it as POCO X3, so we don't feel bad or something. But I think India deserves some NFC phones at this price point, right?
I mean, I don't know. Have you ever used NFC in real life?
That's the thing. If literally every phones will come with NFC, then
Huh.
stuff like tap to pay and everything would be much easier, right?
Yes, it would.
Google Pay would get very much better, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That would be awesome.
that is the only actual good use you can tell with NFC, and with passes and cards and all.
Yeah.
That's also a good thing.
Anyway, on to some more phone leaks, and this time it's coming from Realme. So, guys, we have been watching a ton of Realme phones being launched. It was recently we had the Realme 7. There have been leaks about the Realme Narzo, and this time it's about the Realme 7i. I mean, guys, when was the Realme 6i launched? It hasn't even been a month, and now we have the 7i. Anyway, the good news is Realme is actually moving away from MediaTek, so we no longer have the MediaTek G95 here. What we are getting is the Snapdragon 662, and apparently for the European markets, I'm guessing Realme 7 would be launching in Europe, and that one will be obviously getting NFC.
Of course.
Of course. Anyway, moving on to the 7i, what news do we have? Okay. It's getting the 90 Hz LCD panel,
Yeah.
so that's good.
So basically, you can't expect like a lot of different specs from the Realme 7i compared to the Realme 7, because the Realme 6i was very similar to the 6, right? It's basically they fixing the problems they had with the Realme 6, right? They brought up the better display, they fixed some software issues, and like they just polished the Realme 6 and launched it, right?
Yep, pretty
It is
much.
actually like Realme strategy. We can understand like it is they want to get the best version of the phone as possible, but from an end consumer point, I think it's like very confusing for the consumers, right?
I guess, I mean, at this point, what I feel like is, every time they run a new mold, they're like, okay, let's tweak something about it and call it a new phone.
Yeah.
Because, guys, the 6i, the 7, the 7i now, the Narzo series, how many phones are there gonna be? Like, how many phones are too many phones?
Yeah, but to be fair, like this time around, the 7i is actually a downgrade from the 7. So instead of a full HD plus screen, we are getting a HD plus screen.
Okay.
So I think the price will come down.
Yes,
but
that's nice.
but like the battery is like 5000 mAh like the 7, and we get 18 watt fast charging instead of 30 watt. So I guess what they're trying to do here is like they're making the 7 more budget friendly, because India, the market is very popular in 15K segment.
Yeah.
And because of the GST hike and everything, like every phone in 15K gets bumped into 20K, right?
Yeah.
So like the competition is on the 15K, and like Realme is trying to bring more phones into that category.
They basically like what I think their strategy might be is that from 10K to 15K, at every 500 rupee gap, there will be a Realme phone.
Yeah. But still, the camera is like 64 megapixel primary, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and 2 megapixel
Depth and macro.
Yeah, now it's not the macro, thank God. It's the monochrome and depth sensor.
Okay, so it's even worse.
Yeah. And macro, you can actually do something with it, right? Even though we get bad images.
Come on, it's like a novelty feature. You get something out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, we come to the end of this week's episode of FTJ. Do let us know in the comments how you liked it. And as always, like, share, subscribe. This is Amarto
This is Ananthan.
saying goodbye for the week. Have a nice one, guys.